My wife was blamed for the crash that nearly killed her. Then my daughter pointed at the empty spot on the family wall. My 7-year-old daughter called me at 2:13 in the morning and whispered, "Daddy, Grandma said if I tell the truth, Mommy will never come home." Then the line went dead. I was 400 miles away in Indianapolis, standing barefoot on a hotel carpet, holding a dead phone in one hand and a plastic key card in the other. 10 minutes earlier, I had been asleep. 10 minutes earlier, my biggest worry was whether my auto shop students would make it to their state competition on time. Then my wife's SUV sent one emergency video to my phone. 7 seconds of rain, 7 seconds of screaming, 7 seconds that showed me exactly how far her family would go to erase her. The video opened in darkness. Rain hammered the windshield so hard, the headlights turned into blurry yellow lines. The dashcam shook. My wife Rachel was breathing fast. Rachel never panicked. Not when our basement flooded. Not when our daughter Mia had a fever of 104. Not when her family called her dramatic for asking simple questions. But in that video, Rachel sounded terrified. "Mia, stay buckled," she said. Then a man's voice cut through the rain outside the driver's window. Her brother. "Trent, open the door, Rachel." "No," Rachel said. "Move your truck. I'm taking this to Dad. Dad doesn't need to know everything." Something hit the side of the SUV. Mia screamed from the back seat. Rachel reached under the steering wheel toward the panic button I had installed myself. Then headlights swung across the windshield. A red pickup. Trent's red pickup. The Explorer jerked hard. Rachel shouted my name. The camera caught a flash of her hand, the wet road, Mia's yellow raincoat in the back seat. Then the screen went black. I called Rachel. No answer. I called Trent. Straight to voicemail. I called Elaine, Rachel's mother. Nothing. Then Mercy County Hospital called. "Mr. Turner," a nurse said carefully, "your wife has been in an accident." Accident. That was the word they used. As if rain had done it. As if tires had slipped. As if my wife had simply lost control on a quiet Ohio road with our daughter in the back seat. "What happened?" I asked. The nurse paused. "Your wife is alive. She has a concussion, a fractured collarbone, 2 broken ribs, and facial injuries. Your daughter was not physically injured." Not physically injured. I would remember those words for the rest of my life. "Where is Mia?" She was released to her grandmother. My stomach tightened. "To Elaine Miller." "Yes, sir." Rachel's mother. The woman who always smiled at me like I had tracked mud across her white carpet. The woman who loved family pictures more than family truth. I drove through the night. 400 miles. 6 hours of dark highway. Every passing semi sounded like metal bending. Every red taillight looked like Trent's truck. I kept hearing Mia's whisper. Grandma said, "If I tell the truth, Mommy will never come home." Rachel did not drink. Not because she wanted to look perfect. Not because she judged anyone. Rachel did not drink because her father, Bill Miller, had almost lost Miller's Porch Diner to whiskey and unpaid bills when she was 16. She had spent too many nights helping her mother drag him from the kitchen floor, while the rest of town still believed the Millers were the perfect breakfast family. Rachel hated the smell of alcohol. She hated cover-ups. She hated the way people used shame as a broom and swept everything ugly under the rug. So when I walked into Mercy County Hospital at dawn and heard Elaine Miller telling a deputy, "Rachel has been unstable for months," something inside me went quiet. Not hot, not loud, quiet. Elaine was sitting in the waiting room wearing pearl earrings, a cream cardigan, and the kind of grief that had clearly been arranged in a mirror. Beside her stood Trent, black jacket, wet hair, hands in his pockets. He looked tired, not guilty, not scared, tired, like my wife's broken body had ruined his schedule. When Elaine saw me, she stood. "Caleb," she said, pressing a hand to her chest. "Thank God you're here." I walked past her. She caught my sleeve. "You need to hear us before you go in there." I looked down at her hand until she removed it. "What did you tell them?" Her mouth tightened. "The truth." Trent made a small sound, almost a laugh. That laugh told me more than any report could have. What truth? I asked. Trent leaned against the vending machine and folded his arms. That Rachel took the diner deposit, drove off upset, and ran herself into a ditch. I stared at him. What deposit? Elaine's eyes flicked toward him. Trent answered too fast. Payroll cash. Vendor money. Whatever she was hiding. She's been acting like she owns the place again. Miller's porch was Rachel's family diner. Red vinyl booths, a bell over the door, a jukebox that only worked when it wanted to, coffee too strong for tourists and perfect for regulars, a hand-painted sign that had been touched up so many times you could see 4 different shades of red in the afternoon sun. Rachel had been helping there since January after Bill's blood pressure got bad, and Elaine decided bookkeeping was too depressing. Rachel worked weekdays at the elementary school cafeteria. She picked up Mia. She helped with homework. She cooked dinner. Then, 3 nights a week, she drove to the diner and balanced receipts at booth 7 until her eyes burned. Nobody paid her. Nobody thanked her. They called when the freezer broke. They called when payroll was short. They called when a vendor threatened to stop deliveries. They called when Elaine felt overwhelmed. They called when Trent needed one more chance. And Rachel went. Because that diner was her father's dream. Because she still believed family meant showing up even when no one clapped. Rachel didn't steal anything I said. Trent's mouth twisted. You always think she's some saint because she cries pretty. I took 1 step toward him. Elaine moved between us fast. Not here, she whispered. People are watching. That was Elaine Miller's religion. Not truth, not loyalty, not love. People are watching. I looked at Trent. Where is my daughter? At the house, Elaine said. She needs calm. She doesn't need your anger. My daughter watched something happen to her mother. Elaine's expression hardened. Your daughter is confused. She was scared. Children repeat things, especially when adults tell them to. Trent's eyes sharpened. You need to be careful, Caleb. There it was, the real Trent. Not Elaine's golden boy. Not the charming former quarterback. Not the ambitious son everyone kept excusing. The real Trent Miller. Sharp, spoiled, cruel when cornered. Careful, I asked. Trent leaned closer. Rachel is in a bad position. Missing cash. A bottle in the car. A child in the back seat. You start throwing accusations around, you might make things worse for her. Elaine nodded. We are trying to protect her. I looked through the ICU doors. My wife was behind them with broken ribs. My daughter was at their house, probably being taught to doubt her own eyes. And these 2 were standing in front of me like mourners at a funeral they had arranged. I'm seeing my wife, I said. Elaine lifted her chin. The doctor said only immediate family. I am her husband. For the first time, Elaine looked annoyed. That had always been the problem with me. I married Rachel, but I never accepted the Miller family's rules about where I stood. To them, I was still the boy from the repair garage on Route 12, the scholarship kid, the public school shop teacher with grease under his nails, the man who fixed their cars, built their shelves, repaired their freezer, and still somehow was never good enough to sit at the center table. But Rachel never made me feel small. Not once. So I walked through those ICU doors, and then I saw her. My Rachel. Her face was swollen on one side. Purple bruising spread under her eye. A bandage crossed her forehead. Her left arm was strapped against her chest. Her lips were cracked. Dried blood clung near her hairline. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her. Not weak, just hurt. Like the world had finally hit the strongest person I knew and expected her not to bruise. I sat beside her bed and took her hand carefully. Her fingers were cold. Hey, Rach, I whispered. I'm here. Her eyelids fluttered, but she did not wake. The machines answered for her. Beep, beep, beep. I bowed my head over her hand and cried for exactly 1 minute. Then I wiped my face, because Mia was still in that house, and Rachel's family had already started rewriting the story. By 8 that morning, I was standing on Elaine and Bill Miller's porch. The Miller house always looked warm from the outside. Yellow light in the windows, rocking chairs, a wreath on the door, the smell of cinnamon rolls and coffee drifting from the kitchen. But I had learned over 11 years of marriage that some homes are built to make guests comfortable and daughters silent. Bill opened the door. Rachel's father looked 10 years older than he had at Thanksgiving. Gray stubble, red eyes, a plaid shirt half-buttoned like he had dressed in the dark. "Caleb," he said. His voice cracked. For 1 second I saw the man Rachel loved. The man who taught her to flip pancakes before she could spell her name. The man who snuck quarters into her palm for the jukebox when Elaine said music during dinner was tacky. Then Elaine appeared behind him. "She's sleeping," she said. I did not look at her. "Bill, where is my daughter?" He stepped aside. I found Mia in the den under a knitted blanket sitting on the floor beside the couch. Cartoons were on, but she wasn't watching. She was holding Rachel's blue hair ribbon in both hands. The one Rachel wore when she worked late at the diner. "Mia," I said softly. She looked up. For half a second, she did not move. Then she ran into my arms so hard I stumbled backward. She buried her face in my jacket and made a sound I had never heard from her before. Not crying, not talking, a small broken animal sound. I lifted her. "I've got you," I whispered. "I've got you, Peanut," Elaine said from the doorway. "She's been very emotional. We told her not to repeat things she doesn't understand." Mia went stiff in my arms. That told me enough. I turned toward the door. Elaine blocked it. "Caleb, do not make this harder." "For who?" "For Rachel," she said. "For all of us. The diner anniversary is tomorrow. There will be people from the county paper. Bill cannot handle a scandal right now." I stared at her. The diner anniversary. 40 years of Miller's porch. That was what she was thinking about. Not Rachel's ribs. Not Mia's nightmares. Not the blood on the road. A party. A newspaper photo. A legacy wall. Trent stepped in from the kitchen eating toast like this was just another morning. "Mom's right," he said. "Rachel already embarrassed the family enough." Mia's arms tightened around my neck. Bill heard it too. His eyes moved from Mia to Trent. "What did you say?" Bill asked quietly. Trent rolled his eyes. "Dad, come on. You know how she gets. Rachel makes everything about her." Bill looked lost. That was the tragedy of Bill Miller. He was not cruel like Elaine. He was not sharp like Trent. He was tired. And tired people sometimes let louder people decide what truth is. "I'm taking Mia home," I said. Elaine stepped forward. The deputy said, "The deputy can call me." Trent smiled. "That old Explorer of yours is totaled, by the way." "Shame. Guess that fancy camera didn't save her." I stopped. Slowly I turned back. Trent's smile faded just a little. I had not mentioned the camera. Not to Elaine. Not to Bill. Not to anyone. "What camera?" I asked. Trent blinked. "The dash thing. Everybody has one now." "Right," I said. He looked away first. I carried Mia to my truck. As I buckled her into the back seat, she whispered, "Daddy, Mommy didn't steal." "I know." Uncle Trent took the brown envelope. I stopped moving. "What brown envelope?" "The one Mommy had on the seat. She said it was for Grandpa's workers." Uncle Trent was mad. He said Mommy was making him look bad again. Water dripped from the maple tree above us, tapping the roof of my truck. "What happened after that?" I asked gently. Mia swallowed. "His truck went in front of Mommy. Mommy screamed. Then the car went boom." Her eyes filled. Then Grandma came. Uncle Trent said, "Put the bottle in there." Grandma said, "Not in front of Mia." Then Uncle Trent told me if I loved Mommy, I had to be quiet. I closed my eyes. The world did not turn red. It turned clear. Red anger makes you shout. Clear anger makes you patient. I drove Mia home. I made her pancakes because she asked for them. I let her sit on the kitchen counter while I cooked the way Rachel always pretended to hate, but secretly loved. Mia ate 3 bites, then fell asleep on the couch with her shoes still on. I covered her with Rachel's old college sweatshirt. Then I went to the garage. My garage was the only place in my life where broken things made sense. Engines, brake lines, old radios, rusty hinges. Everything had a reason. Everything had a fix if you were patient enough. I opened my laptop and connected to the Explorer's cloud storage. The crash file had uploaded in pieces. Some of it was corrupted. Some of it was black. But the audio was there. Rachel's voice, Trent's voice, Mia crying, Elaine saying, "Hurry up before someone comes." Then Trent. She did this to herself, she always does. I sat alone in the garage while the heater clicked beside me. Outside, neighbors left for work. Garage doors lifted. Dogs barked. Sprinklers ticked. A normal American morning. And inside my house, my daughter slept with fear in her fists, because her own uncle had threatened her. The video was powerful, but I knew the Millers. If I showed only Trent's voice, Elaine would say it was taken out of context. If I showed the crash, Trent would say Rachel swerved. If I showed Mia crying, they would say children misunderstand. Families like that do not surrender to truth. They negotiate with it. They trim it. They dress it up. They make it easier to swallow. So I needed more than proof. I needed Rachel's voice. That afternoon, I went back to the hospital. Elaine was in Rachel's room, adjusting white lilies on the windowsill. Rachel hated lilies. They reminded her of funeral homes. Elaine was talking, even though Rachel was unconscious. "You scared everyone," she said softly. "I don't know why you keep doing things this way." I stood in the doorway. Elaine turned and smiled like she had not been blaming her daughter to a hospital bed. "Caleb, I was just praying." "No, you weren't." Her smile thinned. "I understand you're upset. That's your favorite word for people who notice things." She picked up her purse. Rachel has always been difficult when she feels overlooked. I looked at my wife lying there bruised and still. "Overlooked," Elaine sighed. Her brother has finally brought real opportunity to this family. The diner anniversary, the catering expansion, the investors. And Rachel, instead of supporting him, started digging through accounts and making accusations. "What investors?" Elaine froze, just for 1 second. "Enough!" Then she waved her hand. "Nothing you need to worry about." There it was again, the Miller family motto. Nothing you need to worry about. That meant Rachel had found something. That meant the envelope was not the beginning. It was the part that spilled into the street. After Elaine left, I sat beside Rachel and told her everything I could without breaking apart. Mia was safe. I was home. Nobody believed Trent except the people who needed to. Rachel's fingers moved. At first, I thought I imagined it. Then her eyelids fluttered. "Caleb," she whispered. I leaned close. "I'm here." Her eyes were unfocused, swimming with pain medicine and fear. "Mia, safe, sleeping at home." A tear slipped from the corner of her eye. "Envelope," she breathed. "I know Trent took it." Her fingers squeezed mine weakly. "Blue book." "What blue book?" "Recipe book," she whispered. "Booth 7, behind panel." I stared at her. Rachel had an old blue recipe notebook. Cloth cover, coffee stains, a rubber band around the middle. I thought it was full of pancake batter ratios and pie crust notes. But Rachel's eyes were desperate. "Don't let him take Dad's diner," she whispered. Then she slipped back under. I stayed there for 10 minutes, holding her hand, understanding more with every beep of the monitor. Trent did not just want cash. He wanted the diner. Miller's porch sat on the corner of Main and Laurel across from the courthouse lawn. It was not fancy. It was not worth millions. But the land behind it had become interesting ever since the county approved a new hotel off the interstate. Trent had been circling that diner for months with words like expansion, partnership, modernization. Rachel had called it what it was, selling the family table one chair at a time. That night after Mia fell asleep, I went to Miller's porch. The diner was closed, but the neon sign still hummed in the window. Open 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. I had fixed that sign twice. The back door key was still hidden under the loose brick by the dumpster, because Bill Miller trusted the whole world until it gave him a reason not to. Inside the diner smelled like old coffee fryer oil, lemon cleaner, and cinnamon. I stood there in the dark. Every family has a place where its lies sound softer. For the Millers, it was this diner. They smiled in booths while Rachel paid overdue invoices. They posed for Christmas photos while she covered morning shifts. They called her dramatic while eating pies from recipes she had perfected. I walked to booth 7, Rachel's booth, the one near the window where she used to sit with a calculator, a legal pad, and a grilled cheese going cold beside her. Behind the seat was a loose wood panel I had repaired years ago. I pried it open. The blue notebook was there. So was a small stack of receipts and handwritten notes. Rachel had always been quiet. I forgot sometimes that quiet is not the same thing as unprepared. I sat in booth 7 and opened the notebook. The first pages were recipes: buttermilk pancakes, apple slab pie, chicken and dumplings. Then the handwriting changed. Dates, amounts, names, paid electric bill from personal account, covered freezer repair, Trent cash withdrawal from register, said Mom approved. Elaine requested I not tell Dad. Developer meeting scheduled without Dad. Trent wants signature before anniversary. I read until my chest hurt. For 8 months, Rachel had been holding that diner together with one hand, while her family slapped the other away. Not because she wanted control, because Bill was sick. Elaine was proud, and Trent was hungry. Hungry for attention, hungry for money, hungry to stand in front of the town and call himself the savior of something he had never sacrificed for. Then I found the last note, written the afternoon of the crash, taking payroll cash to Dad before Trent can move it. If anything happens, Caleb, believe Mia first. I closed the notebook. Believe Mia first. Rachel knew. Not everything, not the exact shape of the betrayal, but she knew enough to leave me a sentence that hurt more than any evidence could. The next morning, Miller's porch posted a photo online. I saw it while sitting beside Mia at our kitchen table. Trent stood in front of the diner, smiling, one hand on Bill's shoulder, the other holding a hammer. Caption: "Tomorrow we celebrate 40 years of Miller family legacy. Proud to announce Trent Miller will lead us into the next chapter." Below it was a photo of the new legacy wall. Bill as a young man in an apron. Elaine at the register. Trent in a baseball uniform eating pancakes. Trent's sister Bethany at prom in front of the jukebox. Grandchildren, cousins, old employees, even a framed picture of the diner's first coffee pot. Rachel was not on the wall. Not one photo. Not as a child behind the counter. Not in her graduation dress outside the front door. Not holding Mia as a baby in booth 7. Nothing. They had erased her while she was still in a hospital bed. Mia leaned over my arm and looked at the screen. "Where's Mommy?" I did not answer right away. She touched the blank space beside Trent's picture. "Mommy should be there." "Yes," I said. "She should." That was when the plan changed. Until then, I had been thinking like a husband trying to prove what happened. After that post, I started thinking like a father teaching his daughter what disrespect costs. Not revenge, not screaming, not throwing punches in a parking lot while half the town recorded it. Something cleaner, something Rachel would not be ashamed of when she woke up fully. Truth placed in the center of the room where nobody could pretend they did not see it. I spent the next day quietly. I visited Rachel. I told her about Mia's pancakes. I did not tell her about the wall. She had enough pain. Then I went to see Bonnie Mayfield. Bonnie had worked the breakfast shift at Miller's porch for 26 years and knew every family secret before the family did. She lived in a blue house behind the Methodist church with wind chimes on the porch and 3 cats judging me from the windowsill. When she opened the door, she hugged me before I said a word. "Is Rachel awake?" she asked. "Sometimes." Bonnie's eyes filled. "That girl has carried those people too long." I took the blue notebook from my jacket. Bonnie looked at it and her mouth tightened. "She finally showed you. You knew." I knew enough. She invited me in, poured coffee, and told me what everyone else had been too polite or too scared to say. Trent's food truck had failed. Then his catering trailer had failed. Then he had borrowed against equipment he did not own. He had been promising Elaine that a developer wanted to partner with the diner, turn it into a heritage breakfast concept, and put Trent's face on the brand. Bill did not want it. Rachel definitely did not want it. Elaine liked the idea of being important, and the envelope I asked. "Payroll," Bonnie said. "Plus weekend cash." Rachel was taking it to Bill because Trent kept coming around after close. She told me if he asked, I didn't see anything. Bonnie stood, went to her kitchen drawer, and pulled out a folded diner napkin. "I kept this because I'm old nosy and tired of watching good women get called difficult." On the napkin, in Trent's handwriting, were 4 words. "Need Dad out tomorrow." Below that, "Rach can't block this." I looked up. Bonnie nodded. "He left it under the coffee machine last week." He was meeting a man from that development company. Rachel found out. Why didn't you tell Bill? Bonnie gave me a sad smile. Honey, I've been telling Bill Miller things for 30 years. He hears what he's ready to hear. That evening, Trent called me. I let it ring 3 times before answering. You need to stop poking around, he said. No hello? No fake concern. Just the real voice. Or what? He laughed softly. Or Rachel's going to wake up to a bigger mess than she can handle. I was in my garage cleaning grease off a wrench. Mia was inside watching a movie with our neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez. I put the phone on speaker and set it on the workbench. What do you want, Trent? I want you to be smart. Rachel had an accident. Everybody feels bad. But if you push this, people are going to ask why she had cash, why she was driving upset, why your daughter is giving different stories every time someone talks to her. My daughter has given one story. Kids can be coached. I stopped wiping the wrench. There are sentences that show you the exact size of a man's soul. That was one of them. You're going to blame Mia. If I have to protect this family, yes. This family. My family, he snapped. Not yours. You married in. You don't know what that diner means. I looked at the old photo above my workbench. Rachel at 23, sitting on the hood of a car I had just rebuilt, laughing so hard. Her eyes were closed. I know what Rachel gave it, I said. Trent went quiet. Then his voice turned low and bitter. Rachel always had everybody fooled. Poor Rachel. Responsible Rachel. Sweet Rachel. Meanwhile, I'm the one expected to turn that dump into something worth having. You think Dad's pancakes are going to pay for his medical bills? You think Bonnie and those other old waitresses are a business model, so you ran her off the road. I didn't touch her car. No. You just cut her off in heavy rain while your niece was in the back seat. He breathed hard through his nose. She wasn't supposed to fight me. There it was. Not an apology. Not horror. Annoyance. Rachel had failed to submit properly. Where's the envelope? I asked. Gone. Where's the bottle from? He laughed again, but there was fear inside it now. You really think anyone is going to believe you over Mom? No, I said. I think they're going to believe Rachel. Rachel isn't standing at the anniversary tomorrow. No, I said. But her work is. I hung up. The next evening, Miller's porch was packed. Elaine had done what Elaine did best. She had turned family pain into a centerpiece. White tablecloths covered the booths. Mason jars held sunflowers. A banner hung over the counter. 40 years of Miller family legacy. The county paper was there. So was the mayor. So were half the people who had ever eaten a Sunday pancake in Maple Ridge. I walked in wearing the clean navy shirt, jeans, and the calmest face I owned. Mia held my hand. She wore the yellow dress Rachel loved. Her hair was tied with Rachel's blue ribbon. The room shifted when people saw us. Whispers moved through the booths. Elaine spotted me from near the pie case. Her smile froze. Trent was standing by the new legacy wall in a gray blazer, accepting compliments like he had invented breakfast. Behind him, Rachel's absence screamed. Bill sat at a front table looking pale and confused, one hand wrapped around a coffee mug. When he saw Mia, his face softened. Mia started toward him, then stopped when Trent looked at her. I felt her small fingers tighten around mine. I knelt beside her. You don't have to be scared of telling the truth, I whispered. She nodded, but her lip trembled. Elaine crossed the room fast. Caleb, she hissed. This is not the time. It never is with you. Her eyes went to Mia. You shouldn't have brought her. She asked to come. This is an adult event. No, I said. This is a family event. You taught me that word matters when you want free labor and silence. Her face flushed. Trent appeared beside her, smiling for the room. Caleb, buddy, he said loudly. We're all praying for Rachel. The room quieted. That was his mistake. He wanted an audience, so I gave him one. Are you? I asked. Trent's smile twitched. Of course. Then where is she? He blinked. What? I pointed to the wall. 40 years of Miller family legacy. Where is Rachel? People turned. For the first time, some of them noticed. Bonnie stood behind the counter, arms folded, eyes sharp. Elaine spoke before Trent could. We didn't want to upset anyone with recent events. Her childhood photo would upset people. That wall was Trent's project, Elaine said. He chose what represented the future. Mia whispered not loudly, but the diner had gone so still that everyone heard her. Mommy should be there. Bill flinched. Trent's jaw tightened. Mia, sweetheart, Elaine said, bending down with a fake, soft voice. You're confused. Mia stepped behind my leg. I looked at Elaine. Do not speak to my daughter like that again. A few people murmured. Trent laughed, trying to take the room back. Okay, this has been emotional. Caleb's under a lot of stress. Rachel's accident was hard on everyone. Accident, I repeated. Trent's eyes warned me. I ignored them. Elaine grabbed my arm. Enough! I gently removed her hand. No, for once it is. I walked to the small projector screen Trent had set up for his anniversary slideshow. He moved quickly. What are you doing? You said this was about legacy. I plugged in the flash drive Rachel had hidden inside the blue notebook. Trent's face changed. Not much, but enough. Don't, he said. One word. Quiet. Real. I looked at him. You already did. The first image appeared on the screen. Not the crash. Not yet. Rachel at 15 standing on a milk crate flipping pancakes beside Bill. The room softened. Bill stared. The next photo. Rachel at 19 home from community college painting the diner sign in cut-off shorts and an old t-shirt. Then Rachel at 27 pregnant with Mia balancing receipts in booth 7. Then a short video Bonnie had taken last winter. Rachel in a coat behind the diner holding a flashlight in her teeth, while I repaired the freezer fan and she handed me tools. People laughed softly. Bonnie wiped her eyes. The screen changed again. Receipts, bills, handwritten notes. Rachel's personal checks covering diner expenses. Nothing flashy, nothing complicated. Just the quiet paper trail of a daughter who kept saving a place that kept pretending she was difficult. Bill stood slowly. Rachel paid the freezer repair, he asked. Elaine looked down. Bill, not now. He turned to her. I asked you where that money came from. Trent stepped forward. This is private family business. Bonnie's voice rang from behind the counter. It became public when you threw a party on top of it. A few people gasped. I clicked again. The Dashcam video started. Rain filled the speakers. Rachel's voice came through. Mia, stay buckled. The room became stone. Trent's voice followed. Open the door, Rachel. His face drained. Elaine whispered Caleb. On the screen, Trent's red pickup pulled across the front of the Explorer. Rachel hit the brakes. Mia screamed. The camera caught Trent running to the driver's side after the car slid into the ditch, not to check on Mia, not to help Rachel, to reach through the broken window and grab the brown envelope from the passenger seat. Then Elaine's car pulled up. The audio crackled. Elaine's voice. Trent, what did you do? Trent, she was driving crazy. That's what happened. Elaine, the bottle. Trent, put it in before the deputy gets here. Elaine, not in front of Mia. Then Mia crying. Then Rachel groaning. Then Trent saying the sentence that made the whole diner stop breathing. If Mia loves her mother, she'll keep her mouth shut. The video ended. No one moved. No one spoke. The fryer hummed at the kitchen. Somewhere a spoon slipped off a table and hit the floor. Trent looked at the screen, then at the crowd, then at Bill. It's edited, he said, but his voice was too small. Too late. Elaine lifted both hands. I was protecting this family. Bill turned toward her like he had never seen her before. Which part of the family? Elaine's mouth opened. No answer came. Mia was crying silently beside me. I picked her up. She wrapped her arms around my neck, but she kept her face turned toward the wall, toward the blank space where Rachel should have been. Bill walked to the legacy wall. His hands shook as he removed Trent's framed photo. Trent lunged forward. Dad, don't be stupid. Bill turned. The whole diner saw it happen. The tiredness left his face. For the first time in years, Bill Miller looked like the man Rachel had been trying to save. Get out of my diner, he said. Trent stared. You don't mean that. I do, after everything I've tried to do for you. Bill's voice broke, but it held. You nearly killed my daughter. Trent pointed at me. He did this. He turned you against me. No, Bill said. Rachel told the truth. He just gave it a microphone. Elaine stepped toward Trent. Bill, please. Bill looked at his wife. You helped him put a bottle in my daughter's car. Elaine began to cry, but even her crying sounded practiced. I panicked. Bonnie said, no, honey. Panic is when you burn toast during Sunday rush. That was a choice. People started standing. Not dramatically, not all at once, but one table after another. The mayor left first, then the county paper reporter filming on her phone, then old customers who had known Rachel since she was a child. Trent's big anniversary night emptied around him. That is the thing about public lies. They look powerful until people stop clapping. Trent walked toward me, his face twisted. You think you won? I shifted Mia higher on my hip. No, I said. I think Rachel survived. He looked at Mia. For 1 second, anger flashed toward my daughter. I stepped closer. Very calm. Very quiet. You blamed a child for telling the truth, I said. That is the smallest thing I have ever seen a grown man do. Trent's mouth opened, but nothing came out, because everyone was watching now. And Trent Miller had spent his life performing for rooms. He knew when a room was gone. Rachel came home from the hospital 6 days later. Not to the Miller house, not to the diner. Home, our little blue house with the uneven porch and the mailbox Mia had painted with sunflowers. She moved slowly. She slept a lot. She cried when she thought I couldn't hear. The first time a truck backfired on our street, she dropped a mug and shook so hard I had to hold her on the kitchen floor until her breathing came back. Healing was not pretty. It was not a montage. It was pill bottles, follow-up appointments, nightmares, insurance calls, and Mia crawling into our bed at 2 a.m, asking if Uncle Trent knew where we lived. Bill came by 3 times before Rachel agreed to see him. The first 2 times he left soup on the porch. The third time Rachel was sitting in the living room with a blanket around her shoulders when he knocked. I opened the door. Bill looked at me. His eyes were wet. Can I talk to my daughter? I looked back at Rachel. She nodded once. Bill stepped inside like a man entering a church after breaking a window. He stood in front of Rachel and began to cry. Not Elaine crying. Not the kind that asks to be comforted. Real crying. Ugly and late. I failed you, he said. Rachel looked at him for a long time. Yes, she said. He nodded like the word had hit him exactly where it needed to. I let your mother explain you to me. I let Trent need things louder than you hurt. I let you carry my diner and then watched them take your name off the wall. Rachel's chin trembled. You saw it. Bill swallowed. I took the whole wall down. She looked away. I didn't want the whole wall. I know. I just wanted one picture. That broke him. He covered his face. I know, baby. For the first time since the crash, Rachel cried loudly. Bill knelt carefully in front of her chair, not touching her until she reached for him. And I stood in the kitchen doorway watching a father learn that apology does not erase pain. It just stops adding to it. Elaine sent messages. Long ones, then short ones, then angry ones, then religious ones. Rachel read the first 2 and deleted the rest. Trent tried calling from 3 different numbers. I blocked them all. Eventually, the town heard enough to stop asking polite questions. The official part of the story moved along somewhere in the background, with deputies' statements, insurance, and consequences. But that was not the center of our lives. The center was Mia learning to sleep with the hallway light off again. The center was Rachel walking to the mailbox by herself. The center was pancakes on Saturday morning, and the first time Rachel laughed without touching her ribs afterward. A month after the anniversary, Bill came over with the blue recipe notebook. He placed it on our kitchen table. I want you to have it, he told Rachel. She ran her fingers over the stained cover. This belongs at the diner, no, Bill said. The diner belonged to you more than it ever belonged to the wall. Rachel looked at him. Bill took a breath. I'm selling Miller's porch to Bonnie and the staff. Rachel blinked. What? Not to developers. Not to Trent. To the people who kept it alive when I wouldn't look. Rachel's eyes filled. And you! I'm going to be an old man who drinks coffee there and keeps his mouth shut unless asked. For the first time, Rachel smiled. A small smile. But real. What about Mom? Bill looked down. Your mother is staying with Bethany for a while. That was all he said. That was enough. The next spring, Rachel opened a little breakfast counter at the farmer's market. Nothing fancy, a rented stall, a griddle, a chalkboard sign Mia decorated with flowers. She called it Blue Ribbon Breakfast because of the ribbon Mia had held the night everything fell apart. On the first morning, Rachel was nervous. Her scar had faded but not disappeared. Her collarbone still ached when it rained. She kept touching the edge of the griddle, like she needed to remind herself she was allowed to stand there. Then customers started coming. Bonnie came first and ordered pancakes, even though she could make them herself. Mrs. Alvarez came with flowers. My students came in their competition shirts and ate so many biscuits I lost money. Then Bill came. He stood in line like everyone else. When he reached the counter, Rachel looked at him. "What can I get you?" Bill smiled. "One coffee, one pancake, whatever the owner recommends." Rachel's face changed. Owner, not helper, not difficult daughter, not the one who always shows up. Owner. She poured his coffee with steady hands. Mia sat on a stool beside the register, wearing an apron too big for her, carefully taping a photo to the side of the stall. It was a picture of Rachel at 15, standing on a milk crate, flipping pancakes beside Bill. The same photo from the legacy wall. But this time, Mia had written something under it in purple marker. Mommy's legacy. Rachel saw it and pressed a hand over her mouth. I stood behind the counter, washing mixing bowls, pretending not to cry. That night after the market closed, Rachel and I sat on the tailgate of my truck, while Mia slept in the back seat under a blanket. The sky was turning orange over the fairgrounds. Rachel leaned her head on my shoulder. "Do you think walking away makes me weak?" she asked. "From them," she nodded. I looked at the woman beside me, the woman who had been blamed, erased, threatened, and still chose not to become cruel. "No," I said. "I think walking away with your heart still clean is one of the strongest things a person can do." She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "I kept waiting for them to love me the way I loved them." I took her hand. "Maybe that's the trap." "What is?" "Thinking family means giving people endless chances to hurt you, just because they know your childhood nickname." Rachel laughed softly, then cried softly, and somehow both sounds felt like healing. A year later, Blue Ribbon Breakfast had a real storefront. Small, bright, on the corner of Ash and 3rd, where the old flower shop used to be. Nothing about it was fancy. The floor creaked. The bathroom door stuck. The sign was hand-painted because I insisted I could do it myself, and Rachel let me even though the letters leaned a little. But every morning people came. Construction workers, teachers, nurses after night shift, moms with strollers, old men who argued about baseball, kids who pressed their faces to the pastry case. And on the wall by the register, Rachel hung exactly 3 photos. One of Mia covered in flour, one of Bill drinking coffee on opening day, and one of Rachel standing in front of the old Explorer before it was totaled, one hand on the hood, smiling like she had no idea how strong she was going to have to become. Under it, she placed a small wooden sign. "Legacy is not what people say about you when they need you. Legacy is how you stand when they try to erase you." People asked about it sometimes. Rachel never told the whole story. She would just smile and say, "I learned the hard way that love without respect is just another kind of hunger." As for Trent, I heard pieces. A failed move to Columbus, a job selling used trucks, a fight in a bar, a few messages sent from new accounts that never got answered. Elaine tried to visit once. She came into the breakfast shop wearing sunglasses and carrying a gift bag. Rachel saw her from behind the counter. For a moment, the whole room seemed to hold its breath. Elaine looked smaller than I remembered, older, less polished. "I wanted to see my granddaughter," she said. Rachel wiped her hands on a towel. "Mia is at school." Elaine nodded. "I brought her something." Rachel looked at the bag, then back at her mother. "You can leave it by the door." Elaine's face crumpled. "Rachel, how long are you going to punish me?" Rachel's voice stayed calm. "I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting my peace. She's my granddaughter. She is a child you told to doubt what she saw." Elaine closed her eyes. "I made a mistake." Rachel shook her head. "No. A mistake is forgetting sugar in the pie. You helped make me look drunk while I was bleeding in a ditch." The room was silent. Elaine looked around, humiliated. That used to be the thing she feared most. People watching. But Rachel was not afraid of that anymore. "You can write Mia a letter," Rachel said. "I'll read it first. If it's honest and kind, someday she can decide," Elaine whispered. "And you?" Rachel's eyes softened, but only a little. "I already decided." Elaine left the gift bag by the door and walked out. Rachel stood still for a long moment. Then Mia's after-school bus pulled up outside. The bell over the door rang. Mia came running in with her backpack bouncing, yelling, "Mom, we got caterpillars in science." Rachel turned away from the window. She smiled. Not the old smile. A new one that had survived truth. Mia ran behind the counter and hugged her. And just like that, Elaine became a shadow outside the glass, while Rachel's real life kept moving. That is what people do not understand about betrayal. The loud part ends. The argument, the reveal, the silence in the room, the public shame. But the real victory is quieter. It is waking up and realizing you no longer check your phone, hoping cruel people have become kind overnight. It is eating dinner without bracing for criticism. It is watching your child laugh without fear in her shoulders. It is building something small and honest after leaving something big and rotten. People think legacy is a wall of pictures, a last name on a sign, a business passed down, a speech at an anniversary dinner. But I have seen a legacy wall with my wife erased from it. And I have seen a 7-year-old girl tape one crooked photo to a market stall and restore more truth than a whole family could destroy. So no, legacy is not the name over the door. It is not blood. It is not who gets the biggest frame. Legacy is who shows up when no one is clapping. It is who tells the truth when lying would be easier. It is who refuses to let a child carry an adult's shame. And dignity is not proving to cruel people that you are worth loving. Dignity is finally believing it yourself and walking where they no longer get a vote. Rachel still has the blue notebook. She keeps it in the office at Blue Ribbon Breakfast, wrapped in a dish towel next to Mia's drawings, and the first $1 the shop ever earned. Sometimes I see her open it, not to remember the pain, to remember the woman she was before everyone else finally saw her. She was never weak. She was never dramatic. She was never the problem. She was the one holding the broken pieces together until she realized the pieces were cutting her hands. The last time I passed the old Miller's porch, Bonnie had changed the sign. It still served pancakes. Bill still drank coffee in booth 7, but the wall was different now. No perfect legacy display, no golden sun at the center, just a collage of customers' workers, cooks' dishwashers, kids and old photos with handwritten labels. Near the middle was Rachel, 15 years old, standing on a milk crate, flipping pancakes. Underneath, Bonnie had written, "Some people carry the family before the family learns how to say thank you." I took a picture and showed Rachel that night. She looked at it for a long time. Then she handed the phone back. "That's nice," she said. "Does it help?" She thought about it. Then she looked across the room at Mia doing homework at the kitchen table. One sock on one sock, missing pencil tucked behind her ear like Rachel did with order tickets. "It doesn't need to," she said. "I already have what I needed." "What's that?" Rachel smiled. "My name back." And she did. Not because the Millers gave it to her. Not because the town believed her. Not because Trent was exposed or Elaine was ashamed. Rachel got her name back the day she stopped waiting for people who used her to be the ones who defined her. If you have ever been erased by the people you kept saving, remember this. You do not have to burn down the whole table to leave it. You do not have to scream to be strong. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stand up, take your child's hand, carry your truth with you, and build a smaller table where love and respect sit side by side. And if the people who hurt you call that pride, let them. Sometimes pride is just dignity after it finally learns how to speak. So tell me honestly, if your own family blamed you, erased your name, and protected the person who hurt you just to save their image, would you forgive them? Or would you walk away and build a new legacy without them?